with me, Dominic Brown, editor of Highways Magazine. Today we're talking to very much a friend of the show, friend of the magazine, Mike Saunders, CEO and co-founder of Reflow. Reflow have been at the cutting edge, perhaps one of the most influential companies in the digital revolution that's overtaken the highway sector in the last 5 years. It's still a young company. It's grown incredibly quickly, now has over 150 clients in the highway sector with 100% growth last year, I believe. So fantastic achievement. And today we'll be talking with Mike about what next for the digital revolution, new technology, AI, of course. So it couldn't be more timely because obviously everyone and their dog is talking about AI. And it's great to get insights from an expert like Mike, who's been very much at the forefront of this whole agenda and a person who likes nothing more than when a new customer, a new client, a new partner comes to him and says, I've got a challenge, I've got a problem, I've got an idea. Can you work on it with me? Really an inspiring person because he loves to engage with ideas and the possibilities that they could lead to. He's a vision first type of person, and we get into talking about that and how to use data to realize vision. Inspiring because, as he points out in the interview, the best tool we have, really, the most essential element to all of our ideas about where to go next and all of the capability we have about pushing the boundaries of technology and innovation is our imagination. And he makes a really strong case for what we can do, the kind of challenges we can overcome when we start to use data in the right way, but also when we have a vision that we can use data to realize. So really interesting, important, very timely discussion. Hope you enjoy. Thank you. So Mike, Reflow obviously have helped revolutionize the highway sector by digitizing workflows, setting up bespoke forms, and creating dashboards for your clients to go through all of their processes in the highway sector. And I understand that one thing you've been looking at now is combining those dashboards so that a client can work with another client of theirs. Can you talk us through that process and whether you think that that's part of the future for this digitized workflow revolution?
Yeah, we feel that it is an important next step amongst many things that we are working on adding into retail all the time. Because in our opinion, it's going to be key to allow our customers to be able to ultimately share information between their dashboards, between their apps. So yeah, we're in the process of enabling them to communicate with each other. And this is probably most appropriate for enterprise groups. We need to share resources amongst the regions or for multiple companies working on the same highways projects together. So Reflow kind of plugs that gap where miscommunication and confusion occur, especially working on projects from different angles. We kind of feel that by providing that additional capability, and not just being able to get the right data from on site, but then being able to share that between each other, we'll tie it all together.
Yeah. So this is real-time communication and the potential for different stakeholders to look at the same data sets at once and kind of analyze them together and talk over how things are working. Is that right?
Yeah, that would be the thing. And of course, a lot of this will come down to permissions, what different organizations would allow and want to pass between their dashboards. Our expectation at the beginning is to just kind of comes down to jobs. Of course, if two companies are working on the same job together, then it's allowing certain parts of that data to be able to immediately transfer. We already do a little bit of this anyway when we're dealing with, we have what we call our customer portal, where organizations can open up and allow their customers to have insight of jobs that are going on, and they can set the permissions on what they want those customers to be able to see, and also to have rights to manage over that as well. So customers can create their own jobs, edit jobs going forward. So it stands to reason to sort of go the next step, ultimately. And certainly we work with larger organizations who work in multiple regions, multiple depots, who are interested in having multiple dashboards. It's all about trying to solve these problems of eliminating as much siloed information so that we all have a broader knowledge of what's happening where, when.
I guess then the next question is, how can you adapt as new data sets come on board and they have their own kind of parameters, regulatory or specification parameters? Will it be easy to plug in new sets of data as, for instance, specifications improve and adapt?
Yeah. I mean, this is something that Reflow already does and has done for a while. Reflow is very configurable and adaptable to work alongside any system that has what's called an API, which is essentially a bridge which allows two pieces of software to talk to one another, to send information back and forth. That's really the key. As long as we know who the master of that data is, possibilities are really unrestricted by ambition or another company's willingness to connect to Reflow. And so we already connect with several mentor systems. We provide connections to all the leading ERPs that are out there, like NetSuite and Dynamics and IFS, etc. We connect to telematics and some fairly unusual or unique, very specific kinds of systems as well. So I think that this is the key to good modern software.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's developing collaboration both between the clients and yourselves, of course, and the data itself. In a way, it's about kind of, if you bring in different data, you can see new forms of analysis develop. Is that right?
Yeah, because what we can do and what a lot of modern software is and cloud-based software is doing now, from telematics to even sort of devices, the kind of whole internet thing as well, is being able to hoover the data and then being able to provide a good analysis of that data and what that means to sort of provide insights. And that's something we've been working on a lot. How can we? It's one thing to just collect data, say in our case from on-site, but then it's about what do I do with that data in order to be able to have a really good sense of how I can be more efficient, how the organization can be more carbon neutral, how I can ultimately, of course, save money. That's obviously the key to it, as far as from a commercial decision is based on putting these systems in place and why they are way more powerful and more useful than the ways that we've been used to. The whole concept around going digital and field management, telematics, and so on and so forth has obviously been around for a while. The hardware and the software is getting better and better. And obviously we're seeing some really clever new technology coming in and new algorithms and also, of course, the advent of AI, which is now allowing us as developers to be able to take that the next step and to be able to provide immediate insights into what's happening on site. So you can gather a whole bunch of things and you can ultimately get to it and say, well, I want to find out, I want to kind of like pull together all of this, put it into one thing, be able to do a calculation on it and immediately see on the fly, 24/7, what's actually happening. Am I wasting there? Am I using there? Is my health and safety here? What's happening with my manpower here? Are my staff actually working too many hours? And so are they becoming exhausted by that? So is that going to cause me more health and safety problems? Am I using my vehicles effectively? Consequently, that's impacting upon my carbon. And then, of course, how am I working with other people and how am I working with regulatory bodies as well? Bring all that in.
Yeah, as you say, it's kind of you're only limited by ambition. And speaking of ambition, one of the most important, but also one of the toughest ambitions we have, or duties we have, is to decarbonize and reach net zero. Is it fair to say, there has to be a revolution in carbon accounting now? And how do you see that data set being brought in and used as part of our business as usual?
Well, not to diminish it, but in reality, going off the back of what we were just saying, from our perspective, carbon is just another data point.
Right.
And as long as we're capturing that data, we're able to make better decisions to accelerate those improvements. So the key is about the digital revolution. It's about becoming digital. It's about putting processes into, or putting technology into vehicles and in the hands of those at the coalface, and then really having the kind of energy and enthusiasm to act to the data that's coming back. So, yeah, for us, for example, workflows and forms within Uniflow capture data specifically related to carbon. All that data can be captured in manual form by the body device attached to the vehicle. And this data can measure, for example, the amount of fuel used on the route to and from site. And then you can calculate the most efficient routes to minimize fuel usage as well as less wear and tear on the vehicles. But that's obviously a manual way of doing it. Utilizing API integrations, which is what I mentioned earlier in principles, and connections is the most powerful way of doing it, because you can then bring all of that in and live. You're actually seeing exactly what's happening and how things are being used. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a relief to hear you say, it is just data, we can analyze it, because, that does make the problem a bit more digestible, should we say. But you mentioned AI a couple of times there. Could you explain that? What's your thinking on AI? What are the first steps?
Well, so, AI is a funny one. And if I could speak frankly, AI can sometimes be a little bit of a buzzword, a bit of a, almost in my book, a slightly dirty word, because a lot of people are using the word AI at the moment, but it's not really AI. It's kind of like what's being used a lot is very, very clever algorithms. Where for me it becomes much more interesting is where it will help and it will learn. That's where it helps in terms of like it will provide insights above and beyond what you're asking it to do, where it will give you further and additional thoughts based on, for example, regulatory processes or information which is being fed into it from third parties. I think that you need to check carefully into the whole arena of AI, which fortunately I think there is a lot of work being done around that. But I think ultimately it will touch our lives across the spectrum in time, because it will just make things easier in terms of being able to kind of bring everything together and then being able to kind of be that helping hand. So, for example, we've been doing a lot of work. You can do reports in Uniflow. Then you can create reports, and then you can create within Uniflow lots of lovely visualizations of those reports. But we've been working with a partner of ours who their technology allows you to then, it kind of comes up with, have you considered this? Would this be an interesting thing? From this data, you could actually find out this, and this, which you haven't thought about. And that's where I think it becomes really exciting. And that's where, at the moment, where AI gets serious.
Yeah, it's about moving from a very fast calculation that is very useful for, managing a lot of data to actually being prompted into the range of options you haven't thought of, moving into things that you haven't thought.
And all of the information that every time a job is done in the past, it's kind of understanding, it's putting in all those elements and where it's gone wrong. It kind of should identify those things. This is where AI will get really interesting. Even, of course, down to the materials that are being used and the right kind of material. What I also think will be really interesting, again, going back to the whole thing, connecting things up, is where jobs don't need to be done again, which, can happen. And where we don't understand where services are very quickly, or where people are waiting around for something to happen, something to arrive, or where all of that can be kind of worked out behind the scenes within the system. That's where it gets pretty powerful.
Mike, it'd be great to hear your opinion on which should come first, the vision or the data analysis. I know the two are connected, but kind of where do you think for one of your clients should start? And as a follow-up to that, how do we kind of program into our data analysis things that are a bit more holistic, maybe a bit more unquantifiable about how people experience a place and their sense of place through the highways and transport that they use?
That's a big question. I I'm a big believer in starting the education. I mean, that's the entrepreneur, and I think you have to start with a vision. If you build it, it will cut. It's that kind of idea. Right. And I think it's true. And I think that you can, if you've got a good idea about what needs to be done, the tools are there. Going back to the whole carbon thing, we do have the means to be able to ultimately capture all of that information in order to be able to achieve those objectives. The one thing I would say, stepping back from all of it, is that I do think that we're still at the beginning of what is going to come along, what we can do, what kind of technology there is. But a lot of it will be the way that it comes into the industry will be still driven by all these same things. So there's lots of really very exciting kind of tech that's coming along, such as augmented reality, virtual reality. The augmented reality piece is particularly interesting because it ultimately overlays information over the top of what they're seeing in the day-to-day environment. It's still in its relative infancy, but I felt that that's going to come along in quite a big way into our lives in the commercial world. But stepping back from that, I think that people can be a bit sort of scared of technology, or kind of feel like technology won't cover everything that we need today. I've seen organizations embrace some of the tech that's available, not just our system, but other systems that are out there, putting it all together, connecting it all up, and doing the most incredible things, totally turning around everything that they're doing, making themselves more efficient, and really getting themselves on that goal to achieve net zero, or really make their business like my favorite.
Yeah, it is inspiring what technology can do, but unless you know what you want it to do, then you'll never get the most out.
But being inquisitive about that. So we've got customers that will contact us all the time saying, I want to do that. How do I do that? Can I do that? That's the thing. I'm really keen to try and make this work. What can we do? How can we do that? We've always, I think our success has come about by being really flexible and trying to work with those customers. And sometimes it's hard because we get that from all angles. I was thinking, goodness, okay, well, how can we make that work? Well, we really try our best. And I think that is the responsibility of organizations like ours, is to be constantly going back to our customers and saying, okay, what do you need? What does the industry really need? And how can we service that?
The key point you're making, really good point, is that we need collaborative frameworks and we need to be able to work and analyze the data in concert as a team for different stakeholders. Firstly, what's the best way to get that started? Secondly, how do you deal, once you've got that collaborative framework, what happens if something new comes along, some uncertainty, a political move, or something that potentially could knock you off course?
Oh, okay. Well, I think that software has a duty to be as agnostic of political situations as it possibly can. It's a tool, and so it needs to be flexible enough so that you can use it in the way that you need to use it. Take COVID, for example, when that came along. Obviously, we had a lot of customers who were trying to react to that and to change the way that they work. Our software, we continued to grow during that period. We were very lucky to other supports. And indeed, our customers came along and said, right, we need to put in some new ways of working. How can we do that? And fortunately, our software is very much geared up to that. So it's like, okay, well, we need to build some more workflows in handle that new way of working, such as having to beforehand and afterwards, and going through various forms that it could say about how you needed to work during that day, compromise each other's health, etc., etc. So I think that going to the first part of your question, choosing software, you always wanting to look for something, a piece of software or pieces of software that are going to be as flexible as possible, as bespoke as you can make them within the confines of how they work. Working with that, those are upheld by teams who are very keen to keep innovating all the time, and so the way you're going to get that best of breed approach. I don't subscribe to the idea of there being a one system fits all. I don't think it's just like it's not system. I think that there's lots of really great systems out there that you have to sort of cherry pick a little bit.
Okay, brilliant. Well, Mike, it's been fascinating speaking to you as always. Really positive messages there, I think. We are becoming more flexible, more adaptable, more able to collaborate and solve problems together, and ever more able to bring in the data and use the data we need to understand what it is we're doing. All we need is really the vision, and that's in our hands, and that's our ambition. I got the sense that when one of the things that you most enjoy is when a client comes to you with a new question and a new problem for you to work on. Is that kind of one of the highlights of your job?
And I think when we see customers kind of really get hold of what we do and kind of just do things with it that we haven't expected before, or that they really kind of get excited about their vision and how they change things. And then, of course, when we hear from them, which we often do, like, this has changed our business, totally changed what we do, made us more efficient, made us more carbon neutral, and we're on the right track to maybe revolutionize how we do things. That's nice. It's good to be involved with that.
Yeah, brilliant. Quick recap. How many clients are you working with now in highways?
In highways, a little over 150 in the highway sector. It's predominantly contractors. That's who we work with the most, and those range from the small to medium to the giant across the European island.
And you're still quite a young company in highways.
Yeah. Oh, well, we're a young company. We've only been around for 5 years now, but we've seen a huge amount of growth over the last year. We've had 100% growth in the last year. We deal with other sectors as well, of course, and we have additional customers in those sectors: utilities, rail, civils, construction, landscaping as well. So the highways is our main prominent customer vertical, and we really enjoy working in the highway sector. It's been very good to us, and it's always interesting. And there's still, from what we can tell, there's still a great deal of businesses out there that are looking to become digital, and we're all ears.
Well, the feeling's mutual. It's been fantastic to see your growth and the impact you've made in highways. And yeah, things are just getting more interesting, I think. So long may it continue.